Hi, everyone. I'm Ali Hussein Kasim of Ali Talks Tech. Today, I have another super interesting gentleman from my first love, Fintech, and that's Abraham Mbuthia.
Yes.
Abraham, karibu sana.
Thank you very much, Ali.
So, Abraham, as I tell everyone when we start this conversation, this is really about telling our story,
Yes.
our tech story across Africa.
Okay.
So, Abraham, you have the floor.
Mhm.
Who is Abraham? What are you doing now? And how is this story enabling the whole Pan-African ecosystem?
Okay. So thank you, Ali, for having me. So Abraham is a young entrepreneur, not yet 30, who's very passionate about fintech. So what I do, I'm the CEO and founder at a company known as UZAPoint.
So since you opened the door by saying not yet 30,
Yeah.
what is your age? What exactly is your age?
So by next year, I'll be turning 30.
By next year, you'll be turning 30.
Yes.
So
I'm
you're sub
29.
30,
Yes.
29.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I just actually turned 29 in
Good
July.
stuff. Good
Yeah.
stuff.
So very young entrepreneur, but very passionate about fintech. I run a company known as UZAPoint. I also am the CEO of a payments company regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya, known as Dolcepay.
Dolcepay.
Yes.
Okay.
So I run two companies concurrently.
So Dolcepay has just received his PSP license
Yes,
very
yes,
recently.
yes, very recently in April. Yes, and so I run both companies. And for UZAPoint, what we do is actually we provide a bookkeeping solutions for SMEs in retail. And as you may be all aware, everyone is so passionate about SMEs in the market, especially when you're dealing with fintechs. You cannot say fintech and don't talk about SMEs on the same line. So I'm very passionate about SMEs.
So, Abraham, everyone talks about serving SMEs.
Yes.
But does everyone really serve SMEs?
Well, I like that conversation because I always say, Ali, it's such a very controversial conversation to have because when I read articles, when I read what people talk about SMEs out here, everybody says, for example, the biggest problem that SMEs face is lack of access to capital. But from where I sit, I hold actually a different opinion.
What's that opinion?
Yes,
Talk to us about it.
For example, let me just use that specifically as an example. So when you look at SMEs currently, they usually complain about lack of access to capital.
Yes.
But to me, that's not their main problem.
Okay.
So we usually say you need to look at the underlying needs because lack of access to capital has been driven by something.
Yes.
So when these particular...
It's a symptom of a bigger problem.
It's a symptom, okay? So when you look at what is the cause to lack of financing, because financial institutions exist, and not just financial institutions, not just banks, but even the fintech space is actually offering a lot of credit opportunities each and every other day. Recently, the government is also now starting to also offer the Hustler Fund. So access to capital is there. But the biggest challenge is usually how to de-risk most of these SMEs because for you to offer financing,
de-risk.
Yes.
Could you just
break it down?
Unpack that for me.
So when you talk about de-risk is nobody wants to take that high risk when offering credit to people. So we've always had the conversation around big data and using data to actually come up with models to credit score these businesses. Okay. So the biggest challenge we are facing with the SME sector is that we actually lack enough information about them so that we can actually offer them financing. So it's not about access to the financing. The financing is there. Everybody wants to give financing today. But the challenge is that they lack the tools that actually help them to keep their records. Because when you want to give them financing, you tell them we need management accounts, we need your bank statements, we need all these.
So data is one of the biggest problems that SMEs face, or insights from that data.
Yes.
Okay. So how does UZAPoint help in this?
So let me take a few steps back, if you can allow me.
Please go ahead.
Let's think about what has been happening in the fintech space and
Yes.
how actually people have actually benefited from
Yes.
financing. So right now, most people actually get mobile loans.
Correct.
But that is actually based on your personal data.
Yes.
I actually say, as I said, I'm a bit controversial in this particular space.
Oh, join the club, man.
Yes.
Join the club.
So most businesses are actually financed based on the owner's credit score.
Correct.
Not based on the business credit score.
That is interesting.
But the challenge is because for the business owner, Abraham.
So this is mostly in the MSME space.
This is mostly in the SME space.
So that's micro, small, medium enterprises. So let's just step back again to just be clear. I heard what you are saying clearly.
Yes.
Most businesses in this space are actually funded based on the owner's credit score.
Yes.
Not on the business's credit score.
Yes.
Why is that?
Because they lack enough data about the businesses. So think about it and go to Nyamakema, where it's like where core business actually happens in Nairobi CBD. Those people don't keep records. They actually just exchange cash. Ask that business owner, how much inventory they have. Probably they do not know. Okay?
And they don't differentiate between personal cash and business cash.
And they don't. So most of
is that deliberate, or is that because they don't know any better?
Well, I will not want to speak on their behalf because I know.
In your experience.
Yes. So of course at times it's deliberate.
Okay.
But also at times is also to understand the nature of their business. Okay. But at the end of the day, we actually need, because data, we need a lot of data, especially in the space. And we need to evolve so that we can actually give these people financing.
Yes.
So what we need to do is actually try and get solutions that can actually pick a lot of data from these SMEs. And then we use that data, pass that data to financial institutions, to CRPs, so that we can actually come up with a very nice credit score for these SMEs. But right now, what happens? Look at all the mobile loans. It's actually based on M-Pesa statements, based on
that is correct
info that is actually coming
mostly based on mobile money.
Yes. So we need to change that narrative. So you asked a question, what is UZAPoint actually doing? So what we've built as UZAPoint is actually a bookkeeping solution for SMEs, which they can actually use to access it either on mobile or on web. And it actually operates as a software as a service. So when you talk about software as a service, we're actually talking about where you can access the solution by paying a subscription. So you're just paying for a license. And we came to realize that most of these SMEs have looked for solutions out there. Of course, we know about the big solutions. We know about the SAP, the Sage, and all that. They've looked for affordable solutions that can actually work for them, but it's very hard to find. And so we've offered them this solution that is very easy to use. Another key thing that we actually realized as we're offering this solution, the people who actually use these products are not tech savvy. So in the past, most people have actually opted to get accounting solutions. So for me, I always say UZAPoint is not an accounting solution. It's actually a bookkeeping solution. So think about it this way. My biggest competitor, Ali, today,
differentiate for me,
is a book.
Accounting system and bookkeeping system.
So let me repeat this. My biggest competitor is a book. Okay? So
your biggest competitor
is a book.
Is that black book?
Is that black book? It's even good that
sitting
actually,
at a kiosk.
Yes. that is actually my biggest competitor today. So what are people doing?
And how many of those books are out there?
They're everywhere. Go to a Mama Mboga.
Oh my God.
And let me tell you, Ali, I didn't even say it's a black book. You know it's a black book.
Because I know it's a black book.
It has been that way since way back.
Yes.
Ma'am?
So as I was, in my younger days, as I was growing up as a professional, money was always hard to come by.
Yes.
You go to your kiosk, your neighborhood kiosk, boss, tupatie maziwa hapa.
Yes.
Nitalipa. I write it down.
Let me
for some reason,
let me correct
always
you.
A black book.
Let me correct you.
Yes.
They didn't, for credit, they didn't write on the front page. They used to.
They used to write in the
back page. Yes. And it's standard. And nobody teaches you this thing. And it has been there and it's still there. That's my biggest competitor. So what are we doing?
Yes.
Instead of writing on that book, that's what we call bookkeeping. You actually put those records in an automated place. Exactly. So when you talk about your receivables, because in another language now, if you now start speaking a bit of accounting,
yes.
So when you offer credit to your customers, that's actually receivables.
Yes, it
okay.
is.
So
Yes.
that's exactly what you're trying to do, because at the end of the day, why these businesses complain of some of these issues is because, for example, they don't know how to manage their cash flows.
Yes.
So if you don't know how to manage your cash flows, because cash flows is a matter of make sure your customers are not paying you on credit, but you actually negotiate with your suppliers on credit. And I like to give an example. Let me give a typical example of this bottle of water.
Correct.
So you buy
As
this
you
water.
do that, let me take a sip.
Yes. So if you buy this water today at
Okay.
300 shillings, okay, you're meant to pay the supplier after 30 days. Okay. So you sell it tomorrow. How much have you made? Let's say you sell it at 500 shillings. You've actually made...
You made 200.
You've made 200.
Correct.
Tomorrow, you have 500 shillings, go and buy another bottle of water.
Yes.
Do that every single day. You've built working capital. So, and this is what I always talk about.
There's also this other thing that maybe you deal with, but it's subtle, but most businesses really don't take cognizant about. It's the difference between when you get paid and when you pay your suppliers.
Yes.
And that difference, those days or weeks or months, would determine whether you actually make a profit or not.
Yes. It's exactly what I was explaining. Because you're actually using other people's money.
OPM, as I like to call it.
Yes, to actually build your capital. But are SMEs aware of these things? Because, as you said, they turn their book, they write.
That's it.
There's
no insight.
There's
data
nothing.
in analog form.
Okay. So if Ali doesn't walk or pass by my shop, I don't even remember. How many records are you keeping? At times, it's even weird because you have a lot of traffic flow or footfall in your shop. You don't even write it down. You forget.
And that's it. It's gone.
That's it.
You amen, as we like to say.
You amen. So we are trying to help businesses actually operate. And I like to say this. Get Dukas to operate like supermarkets. Because how are these big businesses actually growing? They're actually using data to make what we call informed business decisions, data-driven decisions.
I was speaking to my friend the other day, who's the CTO or CIO at Naivas. And he was telling me something quite interesting that they're doing today. He told me, Francis Ngari, I hope you're hearing me. This is a call out to you. He was telling me something quite interesting, that today you will find in certain Naivas stores things that will not be in another Naivas store. So they're using data to basically say, okay, there are certain products that will never be bought at the Naivas Kiambu Road store.
Yes.
But there are some that are super fast moving in downtown Naivas.
Yes.
So is that what you are doing to empower the small Dukas?
Yes. And let me break it down a bit. Ali, we live in a world of AI. Okay?
Artificial
intelligence, for that matter. Now, what other bookkeeping solutions right now are doing, they give you reports. So where you go and download a report, and then you as the business owner needs to think of what to do.
Okay.
We don't want that.
What do you do? What does UZAPoint do?
So exactly the same example that you've actually used about Naivas. They have the capacity. They have the human capital. The best people in terms of financial analysis, business analysis,
correct.
Predictive analysis, because those are the things you're talking about, okay? But the business owner cannot afford that talent, okay? So we are trying to tell them, this product is not fast moving, invest more in this. But what are we doing? We are picking that data, using AI tools, and giving them insights. Because if they just download the reports, they might not have the knowledge that these big businesses have. I'm sure, as you said, is a CIO. So how will a small business who's probably doing $10
can't
a
afford
day,
a CIO.
can't afford? So what are we doing? we are giving them the same privilege that Naivas is enjoying, but through AI. So giving them insights, telling them which is the fastest moving product, which is the slowest moving product. If it's a weekend, let's say, for example, let's say you're a liquor shop, invest more in this product and not this product. Instead of buying water, probably invest more in this particular product.
So, Abraham, let me just tell you this. You're not doing bookkeeping for these guys.
Yes.
You are a CIO as a service.
I love that. I mentioned to you once, I learned that Starbucks is a financial system. It doesn't sell coffee.
Absolutely, it is.
So that's the thing. You can call us the CIO for SMEs, but in other words, I would want us to be the financial system.
I love this conversation
for SMEs.
So, how long have you been doing this?
Okay. Wow, interesting. I saw some headlines in the newspapers, I think 2-3 weeks ago.
Yes.
Saying the school project that morphed into a budding startup.
Yes.
So I started this way back when I was in Strathmore University. That's where I did my undergraduate studies.
This was a school project?
This was a school project, my end of year project. You know the way you involve yourself? I did Bachelor in Business Information Technology, which is a combination
BBIT.
of... Yes, BBIT, which is a combination of business and IT. And of course, at the end of the year, just as any other undergraduate program, you need to do a project. So I was very passionate about, understanding how businesses operate. Of course, if I take a few steps back, you'll understand that I started the journey in fintech. Maybe when I was in third year, I was doing quality assurance for banks. And so I started learning a few things about how banks operate and all that. And so I decided to do this as my school project. And as I was doing the research, I was actually more focused on big businesses. The big manufacturers, big distributors. How can they leverage on data to actually know their route to market strategy?
Okay.
And so I did this. I did it for manufacturers, distributors, and I understood, okay, an MD of a manufacturing company can actually sit somewhere but see everything that is actually happening in terms of distribution. And usually say in distribution, there's primary and secondary. Primary is the people you've actually, the van reps that you actually have. But secondary is actually people who distribute on your behalf. And so you are like, we've built a mobile application that people in the market can actually use to sell and to monitor the inventory. And an MD is sitting somewhere and they're able to see. But for us to convert one ticket, especially because I was young and I was still in school, it used to take us, the turnaround time was between 6 months to 1 year, just to close one contract.
That sales cycle that long?
Yes. Huge turnaround time. So I was like, this same solution can actually be of more help to actually...
smaller
enterprise. People who can make a decision very impromptu. And now I did a study now with SMEs. I started with the informal sector, the duka owners, the kiosks, and Ali, at times they usually say this kwa ground vitu ni different. So that's the experience that I actually got, because I was trying to do this with duka owners and stuff. Now for duka owners, you try and go and give them an app. Remember, my biggest competitor is the hardcover book that people are actually using. So we try and tell them we need to move from this book to a digital platform. Now, they are in FMCG, of course, because now I started trying to do it fast with FMCG.
Yes.
How many SKUs or products do these businesses have?
I'm sure you're about to tell me. About a kiosk on
close
average.
to 3,000, 5,000. I'm telling you.
What do you mean?
Unga, for example. Let's talk about Unga. How many brands are there?
One kiosk has 3,000 SKUs.
I'm telling you.
How do they keep up with?
They don't. And let me tell you the worst thing. And as I said, I'm a bit controversial. Yeah? Now with the rise of the last mile distribution.
Don't worry, controversy. You're at home here with controversy.
Yes, so with last mile distribution, it's even worse because people have targets and huge targets for that matter. So people just want to come, dump goods
stuff so that they can report that they have
They can
sold.
report. And they even extend it on credit. You as a business owner, without any insights, you're just taking things. Every single day, companies are coming up with new items.
Products.
Whether it's consumables, whether it's ask your friend in Naivas how many SKUs they have. Because that's the same catalog that is being offered.
I think there's like 30,000.
Yes. So that's the same thing that is now being offered also to the kiosk and duka owners. So we try this. So of course you start by trying to get that entire catalog in a system, trying to train them. And it's not just about the system, even bookkeeping, because they don't understand this stuff. You want to talk to them about inventory, sales. So I talked to you about the turnaround time for big businesses.
Yes.
For Duka owners, it will take even close to 3 weeks just to onboard one particular merchant.
And what are you doing in those 3 weeks?
You
have signed. You have signed them on as a customer.
You've signed them on.
So what are you doing in those 3 weeks?
So you sign them on, then you start data entry. Data entry is a big part.
As basic as that.
As basic. Because if you leave this business owner, tell them I've given you a platform.
They'll never do it.
They'll never do it. And they don't see it like they
You're
have
back
any
to the
problem.
black book.
Yes, they'll be back to the black book.
So I like this initiative that you're doing. And the fact that you are actually on the ground.
Yes. Listening.
Helping out.
Closely,
listening. And helping them out to onboard. So, at the very basic level, you are starting them on this journey of digital transformation. So over this time, you've done this.
Yes.
How many paying customers do you have?
So we've had over 700 customers.
700 customers.
Over 700 active customers till date. Each and every month, we usually have like very high targets, maybe between 70 to 100 new customers.
Okay.
So that we can actually sustain the business.
So you have a team on the ground.
We have a team on the ground
recruiting
every single day. And Ali,
which is where now our conversation about Vitu kwa ground
is different. Because
so you're not onboarding these using online marketing tools, and you have boots on the ground.
You know, Ali, when you're building software as a service products, we usually talk about user experience, making it intuitive, so that someone can go through that entire journey by themselves.
Correct.
But what people don't even understand about these SMEs, and I love them, but they're also very entitled because they want you to handhold them through each and every process.
So that's the customer journey.
So it's
you have
data
to
entry.
embed that into your
so it's data entry, it's training, it's customer support, it's customer success. And it's as simple as, so how do I file my returns? Because they don't look at you as a tech partner. They look at you as their business partner. So they'll be like,
I like that.
Every single thing,
I like that.
Every single decision they're making in their business, they'll pick up their call. And
yesterday, I read a very interesting, and I want to read it out for you. Let me see if I can pick it up very quickly. I read a very interesting paper by Accenture, the consulting company. And the one thing that really caught my eye is this. So I posted this on my LinkedIn page. I don't know whether you saw it. If you had a crystal ball, where do you think your next billion customer is at? A new generation of digital consumers is emerging in 8 countries over the next 10 years. Now, out of these 8 countries, 4 are African countries.
Wow. I was listening to a video of Vusi Tembekwa from South Africa.
Yes.
He said he goes everywhere and asks people, which is your next biggest market? And everybody says Africa. But he says everybody knows about the potential of Africa, except Africa. Except Africans.
That is interesting.
So there's a lot of potential. And the same challenges Kenya faces, Tanzania faces, Nigeria faces, Uganda faces.
Just different flavors.
Different flavor, understand their culture, understand their way of doing things. Some are a bit slow. Some don't have the infrastructure we have. And we always say this, M-Pesa has helped us. We have good internet infrastructure. So it's just a matter of those dynamics. But at the end of the day, the problem is the same.
So Abraham, you are dyed-in-the-wood entrepreneur. You built UZAPoint to where it is.
Bootstrapping, yeah?
Today. Bootstrapping.
Bootstrapping.
That is an interesting term that most in the tech ecosystem probably don't appreciate. How much capital have you raised?
So I don't know whether I'm allowed to say this on camera.
Please,
but
feel free.
But I'll talk about the ones which are public,
Yes.
disclosed.
Yes.
So we've raised recently through the Black Founders Fund, which is non-dilutive capital.
Yes.
So one of the things I believe in is always to get either strategic partnerships, get non-dilutive capital. That people who actually see the nature of your business, the scalability of
Please
your business.
explain to my audience what non-dilutive capital means.
So when most people are raising, especially in the tech space, most of them actually go the VC way. VC is venture capital way or angel investor way. So VC way is where the companies who put a pool of funds,
Yes,
and they're actually going to startups to give them some capital.
Correct.
It could either be pre-seed, seed,
yes,
Series A, and the rest. So I always believe in either strategic partnerships or using your customer as your best investor in your business. And for me, that's bootstrapping, where you go to your first customer.
So basically, you subscribe to the ideology that your best funding is a paying customer.
Yes. So when you talk about non-dilutive, it basically means you're not giving out any equity, because when you raise through VC, you actually need to give a bit of equity.
Dilute, yes, correct.
And you have to dilute a bit of your stake in the business.
So to the point where you're now been you've been brought into the Google Black Founders Fund. Congratulations, by the way, to you and your team for that. To that point, your fundraising has basically been paying customers.
Paying customers.
What are your lessons to entrepreneurs out there?
Ali, I always like to say, you need to focus on three things as an entrepreneur. These are things that you need to have as an entrepreneur for you to manage to do it, especially from a bootstrapping point of view.
Yes.
And I say it's 3 Ps. So number 1 is passion.
Passion.
Number 2 is patience.
Patience.
Number 3 is persistence.
Persistence.
Let me start with the last.
Abraham's 3 Ps.
3 Ps.
Passion.
Patience.
Patience.
And persistence.
Persistence.
Let me start with the last P. When you talk about persistence, I've built UZAPoint. This is the 6th iteration of UZAPoint, what our customers are using.
You've iterated 6 times?
6 times.
Wow.
Building from scratch, listening to the market.
So you've taken pivoting to the next level.
To the next level. And most entrepreneurs coming up, or especially in our Gen Z, don't appreciate that. That at times you build, it doesn't work, or it's not scalable.
Yes.
And most of the times why we've built it so many times is because you reach somewhere and you realize this is not
not scalable.
It's not scalable.
So you have to change.
You have to change. So persistence is a big thing. Otherwise, in between, and of course there have been so many fallen soldiers in between, people who were riding on the dream and they left. But I have been consistently the one person who's
passion,
who's gone all the way.
Persistence.
That's persistence. Passion is, are you very keen about the problem you're solving?
Yes.
Is it genuine? And I usually say this. Most people, as we started the conversation, most people want to solve a key problem with SMEs, but most people are not genuine about actually solving that problem. Because you're not solving the underlying issue. Please
explain that. Unpack that for me.
Because people are not solving the underlying issue. So people will say we want to offer funding, loans, all that. But at the end of the day, even when you talk about the startup funding ecosystem, will you give funding to someone who doesn't have a plan, Ali? If they don't know their numbers, if you tell someone, give me your numbers, what's your conversion rate? What's your churn rate? If they don't understand their numbers?
They have no clue. Then why are you giving
them money? So you need to be very passionate. You need to really understand the problem, because what we do is not very unique. We just offer solutions to problems. And it sounds like a cliche, but that's the reality.
That's what you do.
That's what we do. So you need to be very passionate about it. And if you will be easily swayed, and I always see this when we keep on trying to get solve different problems, especially as you're fundraising.
Yes.
You started with this problem and then you find yourself solving another problem later on. But be very passionate first about the person you're addressing the solution to and actually the problem you're solving. Number 2 is patience. Good things take time. It's more about the process. And most people don't want to understand.
I keep on telling people that when my wife puts biryani on the table, I know that she started preparing that marination and stuff the night before.
No wonder you're looking this young. You've been eating some good biryani, but the prep, as you said, the prep started.
Yes, patience, that is critical. You know, I get this. People saying, "Oh, look at that guy." Just the other day, I'm like, "Yeah, 10 years in coming."
Wow.
It's not just the other day. It takes time.
It takes time
to build solid foundations.
Let me even put it that way.
Yeah.
Because you've talked about foundation, and that's what I tell my team every day. How deep you build your foundation determines how tall your building will be.
Absolutely.
And many people don't want to take a bit of time to dig their foundation, to build that structure, because we always talk about building solutions which are scalable, building companies which are scalable. For them to be scalable, you need to lay a very firm foundation, and that firm foundation is it don't take a day. It won't take 2 days. It
So
needs a lot of time.
you have UZAPoint, which is solving an interesting pain point for SMEs.
Yes.
I'm presuming right now you're just in Kenya. So you have ambitions, Pan-African ambitions?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
I think, so we are currently in Kenya, but we're actually serving other markets.
You're already serving other markets?
We are already serving other markets. Let me put some context. What COVID taught us is that you can work from
anywhere.
And
that, everywhere.
That helped us a lot, because you see, when we deal mostly with retail businesses, and it's the traditional brick and mortar kind of businesses. So you'll find that during COVID, most businesses started knowing about Google Meet, Zoom, all that. So most of these businesses in different markets, we do full setup when they're remote.
Virtually.
Okay,
so but serendipitously, what COVID has helped you to do is to start serving markets that you thought you are not ready for.
Yes, because you always think you need a lot of money to enter those markets. But what we've realized, especially as we said, software as a service, all you need is just the infrastructure. Build the solution in a very good way. If it's Francophone countries, make sure, if, for example, they wanted to change the language to French. It's so easy. It's just, it identifies which country you're in, and it picks that. If it's a matter of currency, can be able to pick the currency based on the location. So for us, it's Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania, Nigeria. Those are the markets we want to be present in by the end of this year.
By the end of this year. And you've already you already set up for that.
Yes.
Abraham, we are coming to the close of this interesting conversation for me.
Yeah.
What I like about what you're doing is you're not really focusing on some of the most common fintech verticals, like payments.
Yeah.
You are actually going down
to the
core.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of patience.
Yes, it does.
And takes a lot of patience, as you've mentioned. How are you linking this with your other company that you are also running, Dolcepay?
Yeah.
First, I must congratulate you to get a license, a payment service provider license in Kenya. It takes time.
Yeah.
And it means that you tick all your T's and dot all your I's when it comes to regulatory matters, which is something that unfortunately most in the tech ecosystem don't appreciate enough.
Yeah.
We sort of have taken to heart the move fast and break things mantra, not appreciating and understanding that financial services is one of the most regulated industries in the world.
Yeah.
So to expect that it's going to be a free for all is maybe putting your head in the sand.
Yeah.
How are you managing these two? And what's the linkage between Dolcepay and UZAPay? And maybe also tell us the journey towards getting regulatory approval.
So um, SMEs, we need to first understand SMEs. SMEs contribute about 80% of our employment.
And that's
Contribute
a
about
worldwide
yes,
percentage, by
yes,
the way, not just Kenya.
90% of businesses in Kenya are SMEs. So when you talk about payments, when you talk about everything, is centered around SMEs. Now, I usually joke, Ali, and I say, if I want a title, should be the father of SMEs. That's how I would want people to know me. So SMEs, and given that I am very close with them,
Mm,
they benefit a lot from payments. They are actually the key drivers, even for most of the big successful payments companies.
mm,
Right now, I am very close and intimate, especially through UZAPoint.
mm,
We're very close with SMEs, but the market as it is, the payments market as it is so fragmented
yeah,
because each and every person is offering,
correct.
standalone solutions.
Mm,
Okay, so what are we doing? These SMEs who we are feeding
mm,
with our solution,
mhm.
we want them to have an all-in-one solution
Platform.
packaged
Mhm.
and not fragmented. Something that comes as all in
All in
one.
one.
So what you're doing, you're offering them bookkeeping and payments all in one platform.
Okay.
We want to build the next Square for Africa,
Okay.
where you link POS
Mm,
and you link payments
mhm.
and you offer that to businesses. That's the linkage between the two companies.
Great.
Because SMEs every single day talk about till numbers, talk
Mm,
about whatever they're doing,
across
all
the
that.
board.
What is driving that agenda and that success factor for
Mm,
all this is SMEs. And guess who is at the core of SMEs? Is UZAPoint. So extending these services in terms of payments to SMEs. You asked about the journey in terms of getting the license.
correct.
I think as the days go by, I think in the last couple of months we've seen many more companies actually getting the
Yeah.
licenses.
Mm,
So I think, when starting off in this particular space, there are no regulations and we are in very gray areas.
mm,
Okay. And it was very, the regulator had to take a bit of time
mm.
to actually get these businesses
Okay.
on board.
Okay.
But right now, I think the space has opened up. The
Mm,
regulations are there, they're very
mm,
clear.
mm.
And so it's opening up to many more
Okay.
startups.
Okay.
We are seeing people also operating on different trails
Yes.
for different key players.
Mhm.
But I think the opportunity to get the licenses right now
Mm.
actually much more.
Okay.
And I encourage many other startups
Mm.
to actually go
Okay.
ahead and apply. As much as it looks very hard, I think it's doable.
Okay.
If some of us have done it, then
That
people should
is
go
that
ahead.
is that is good to know.
Yeah.
As I said, we are about to wrap up.
Okay.
So for me, you have literally, you and your partners have literally built this through the most interesting, and probably that's what most
Mhm.
companies do,
Mhm.
through paying customers.
Mhm.
Your next phase of growth, how do you envision that? And how does being admitted into the Google Black Founders Club
Mhm.
mean for you going forward?
Okay. So for us, I think, as I said, we are building a financial system for SMEs. So number one is to embed a lot of um, financial services on the platform. We live in a world of data, so
Mhm.
we are trying to see how SMEs can consent to
Mhm.
share data with financial institutions
Okay.
and then get financing, as you said, because the theoretical biggest problem for SMEs is
Yes.
financing. So how
Yes.
can we leverage on this data
Mm.
to offer them financing? Other than that, is to also get them to use some of the emerging trends like
Yes.
AI.
Yes.
So that's how our plan or our
Okay.
product roadmap looks
Mm.
like.
Mm.
Getting a lot of the AI for them and getting a lot of financial services,
Okay.
whether it's buy now, pay later,
Mm.
all these things, just to try and help these businesses to grow. Now, what does it take to be part of the Black Founders Fund? Number
Yes.
one, what they say your network is your net worth.
Correct.
And for us in the tech space, just being in a community
Mm.
of like-minded people
Mm.
is a great asset
Mhm.
to business people.
Mhm.
So I'd say that is my biggest asset
Mm.
right now, because I'm talking to people in Europe, I'm networking with people in Africa,
Mm.
Nigeria, South
Mm.
Africa,
Mm. Mm.
all parts of Africa, and they also bring a wealth of experience from
Mm.
them. So number one is the community that you're actually in. Number two is the Google expertise that you actually get in terms of the infrastructure, technical expertise. We get good mentors. We get a lot of course, they give us capital.
Yes.
And being part of that club is validation. I usually say this, Google is one of the biggest companies in the world.
Correct.
Well, we talk about, the biggest company in East Africa, and we know they're in Kenya.
Yes.
But this is one of the biggest companies in the world, rubber stamping and validating.
I like to joke that the biggest company in Eastern Africa, the balance sheet is not even a rounding error in big tech's balance
big
sheet.
techs, yeah.
Those are the facts.
Perfect. And they rubber stamp that you are one of the best companies. Out of 4,000 applications, only 25 companies in Africa were selected, 15 companies in Europe. So they rubber stamp and say, you're one of the best companies in Africa. So just being validated by such companies means that you need now to take it to the next level.
To the next level.
Yes, and I always say this, right now, we're in a position of takeoff because what you're about to see in the next couple of months.
Abraham, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. And unfortunately, we are coming to the end of this interesting conversation.
Thank you very much for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening to us here. And if I were you, I'll keep an eye out to what Abraham and his team is doing at UZAPoint and Dolcepay. Asanteni sana. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Asante.
Thank you.